Welcome back, fellow fans of Clash of Clans. It is your host, Galadon, and today the much anticipated, much awaited part 2 of the interview with Darian, where we are going to talk about more about what could be to come in 2020 for the Clash of Clans updates, quality of life improvements, and we get into a discussion about cheating, exploiting, and bans in Clash of Clans. So we're going to pick up right where we left off at the end of the first episode. If you missed that, make sure you check the link in the description. Go watch that first and come back for this part 2 that begins right now. So as long as we're on the subject of Legend League, Darian, did you know that Stephanie Hart's Dr. Mushtaba?
I've actually, someone accused me of being Dr. Mushtaba because they knew that I was a former medical student.
Okay.
And so they, I actually got a long-winded conspiracy. I mean, this is some next-level tinfoil hat of someone accusing me of actually being, or Dr. Mushtaba being a Supercell employee. They were able to link, so many bases to this one person, and the only way that could have happened is they were a Supercell employee. And because I talked about being a former medical student, that it must be my account. It blew me away. It was some next-level stuff.
Well, I mean, so now that we have that cleared up, that we know probably that you're not actually Dr. Mushtaba. Just a general question: what do you think about what's going on the Legend League leaderboards with that?
So when we did the first round of bans, and we patched some of the exploits that some of these accounts were using to, it was kind of like a sequel to the whole ghosting thing. I think you remember that.
Oh yeah.
We fixed that, and we did look at what are the accounts that are actually using this exploit, and we did ban those accounts. So that did create a void for other accounts to kind of go in there and take advantage of other. They weren't exploiting the system,
right?
But we are monitoring and keeping track of how some of these accounts are behaving. So one thing that I've always talked about is that we don't ban individuals, especially ones that are high-profile individuals, when they're using certain exploits or bots or anything like that, unless we see it used in mass. And the reason behind that is that, one account may be using one exploit, another account may be using another exploit, a third account may be using another exploit that we may not even be aware of. If we were to ban one of them, that would set up a red flag to that exploiter. Like, okay, I know that's what they were looking at. I can go ahead and use these other ones. But if we banned all three of them at the same time, it leaves them guessing which one we were looking at. So, when we do ban waves, like for botting, modding, one, we need to make sure that what we're looking at is something that is actually an exploit and not just someone taking advantage of a social loophole by chat win. If someone was win trading via chat,
right,
outside of Clash of Clans, to be honest, we can't really see that.
Mm-hmm.
But we can see in-game behaviors and kind of make a deduction from that. So these are things that we have to try to track, and we've gotten pretty damn good at it. But we don't want to alert them to every single thing that we're doing. So yeah, we've been keeping an eye on certain accounts that are in the leaderboards and making sure they're behaving. What may seem like what people may assume is an obvious guilt may not necessarily be. And things that maybe look innocuous are actually very, very guilty. So we're keeping an eye on things. And, of course, we can't really reveal what those things are.
That makes sense, yeah, for many reasons. And I see that. Okay, well, good to know. So you're still keeping your eyes peeled on what's going on up there. And, I mean, I realize that there's, like you said, there's a lot you guys can't do. I mean, if they want to pay players to change their names, even if those player names now are kind of associated with cheating because of all the bans that happened, they can do that. They're free to do that. And if they all want to be named the same thing up there, if somebody's paying them enough money, there's nothing to stop it. So, and I kind of see that too. In fact, I'm kind of happy for some of those players who suddenly are getting paid thousands of dollars to change their name. It's like, okay, fine, good for you.
If someone's got that kind of money going around and you just want to pay someone to change their name, I mean, there's nothing in the TOS that says you can't do that.
Right.
But if they're trying to do that just to, muddy the waters, thinking that we can't pay attention to what they're doing, what their in-game illicit activities are, well, they're sort of mistaken because we can see pretty much everything.
I bet. And that's the other thing. People, it's the whole idea of the internet. People have this perceived anonymity, and yet every single line, every single character that's ever typed, every single action in Clash of Clans, I'm sure is recorded somewhere.
Echoes into eternity.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, I just wanted to touch on that because I will say this, that me personally, not that I could ever push to the very, very top of the leaderboards, but even if I had the potential to do that, I feel like there would need to be something else out there to get me to do that, to get me to want to be at the top of the leaderboards. And that something else for me would be a new tab. When you go to the shop, there's currently, you've got the buildings and traps, decorations, treasure, shield, league shop. There's one more tab that says legend shop. And it's a shop that you can go where you can actually spend your Legend League trophies. Because Legend League trophies don't do anything. And it's like, do you guys ever have a plan, I guess is the question, of doing something and making Legend League trophies actually be like a soft currency in the game? Is that a possibility even?
If you were maxed out, what would you get?
I tell you exactly what I get. For 10,000 Legend League trophies, you can buy the 2012 Christmas tree. For 7,500 Legend League trophies, you can buy the 2013 Christmas tree.
Nope.
Oh,
nope,
come on.
Nope.
Those obstacles.
Those time-based obstacles are one thing that we probably will not compromise on. Like, okay. I'm sure we could probably make a killing on it if we sold them in the shop.
Oh no, yeah, I wouldn't suggest that. But okay, so here,
even for Legend League, I mean, it would. Yeah,
okay,
it would leave a bad taste. Or we would feel dirty for doing it.
Okay, fine. Then here's my other idea. Okay, so this goes back to the myth. If you remember, there's this myth or urban legend about generals in war and the statues that were erected to those generals. And there was a myth about them being on their horses. And the idea was if they were on a horse, that means they served in the military. And if they were on a horse that had one leg up, that meant that they fought in a war. And if they are on their horse and it has both front legs in the air, that means they died in war. And I know it's an urban legend, but my thought is, let's do that with a Hog Rider statue. And for 10,000 Legend League trophies, you can have this Hog Rider statue where the Hog Rider is on its rear legs only, and the Hog Rider's up in the air waving his hammer. And for 7,500 Legend League trophies, it has one leg in the air, and for 5,000, it's just standing there, or something like that. Add some sort of new cosmetics, new statues that players could buy with those Legend League trophies. Something just cosmetic. I mean, maybe the idea of a tower skin, of a town hall skin someday, if you had enough Legend League trophies.
For 15,000, all four legs are in the air.
Well, there you go. Yeah, a levitating Hog Rider. But yeah.
So we are, one of the things that we really like to do, and this is something that I've mentioned in the past, are now that we are able to do hero skins, it would be cool to be able to do like custom backgrounds to your village.
Ooh.
And that's something that we've openly talked about as a potential hypothetical for the future, and it's something that we are keeping an eye on. It is something we'd like to add at some point in the future. So whether it's customizable backgrounds or one sourced by the community or something bought in a league shop, that's yet to be determined. But I would like Legend League to mean something apart just from the bragging rights of like, hey, I climbed this far. Yeah. Especially if you're max Town Hall 13, like if you've got nothing to spend to upgrade, like any kind of currency that you gain from that point, it's got to be something meaningful, something right. that whether it's bragging rights, whether it's a custom background or a custom statue, it's got to be something meaningful to the player.
Okay, so Darian, are you saying that we should continue to accrue Legend League trophies then, just in case?
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, we don't have any plans for a Legend League trophy currency.
Okay.
But it is something it's an idea that I think does have some merit, and all I can do is present to the team and see what they say.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, because that would be so cool if we had something like that, I think. And this actually now reminds me of another question that I had forgotten to write down that I was going to ask you, and it came after the last time we interviewed. I talked to you. and that we put that on my channel. And that was, you mentioned something back then, and I don't know if players misconstrued it or not, but you mentioned something about after the Town Hall 13 update that there would likely be something that came to the game that gave end game players something to do, meaning like, and some players took that to mean like there's going to be something that we can endlessly grind for. You know, maybe you're maxed out, but you can still, you could endlessly grind for this, 10 million trophy thing or something like that. A lot of players got the impression there was something else you guys had in mind for end game players.
Okay, so I do want to clarify that what I said was it would give endgame players something to spend resources on.
Okay.
So, and the reason why I said it that way is that it was in response to a thread where someone was talking about how as a max player, they have nothing to spend all these resources on, and every month, it's just sitting max. They can't collect it. There's, their clan or the season bank is just sitting full. They have nothing to spend their resources on. So one of the things, and they were asking about, would we ever invest in creating a resource sink for these players? And that's something that we are looking at, is like what kind of resource sinks do we want to implement that, if you've got if you're sitting on, max elixir, max dark elixir, every single time, what do we want to offer to players that would allow them to spend that, so it just doesn't sit there and rot.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm looking at my main account right now. 6 of 6 builders free, 81 million gold, 603,000 dark elixir.
Yeah. So that's my point exactly. Is when you're max level, there should be something that you can spend these resources on.
That makes sense, and that would be really cool. I'd be excited about that as well. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about another idea that I've heard, and that is there's a lot of us that are veteran players. Maybe we're maxed out, and you may or may not be familiar. I recently started a series called No Cash Clash, where I started a brand new account, and we're bringing it up from Town Hall 1, and right now I'm about like maybe 30% of the way through Town Hall 8. But the thought, and I've heard so many other players say, Galadon, since you started your No Cash Clash series, I started a new account, and it's so much fun. But the grind to get to Town Hall 6 or 7 is so meaningless to me. I want to start at Town Hall 7 or 8. And I wondered if, and I know you mentioned, you favorited my tweet the other day. You liked my tweet the other day, where I talked about another game that had added a similar idea where if you've made it to max, you could start a new account, but you don't have to start on day 1. You could start, for instance, at Town Hall 5 or 6 or 7, not necessarily having to spend money, but you could just accelerate because you've already done it. They're going to let you start midway through the game. And I wondered if that's something you guys have ever considered.
You're talking about that level boost function of the other game.
Yeah, well, it's like, I remember it's like you get to level 80, you can start a new character that's level 55.
Yeah.
And
I actually brought this exact example up not so long ago on the Clash team. And we talked about, what happens if we add Town Hall 14, Town Hall 15, Town Hall 16, Town Hall Peter $17. And sorry, I had to. So because I don't want to say the grind, but the upgrade process is one of the core mechanics of Clash of Clans. We can't just remove that aspect of the game. So what does that mean for players who return, or if someone wants to start a second account, are they going to have to grind from Town Hall 1 all the way to Town Hall 20? And so we are exploring some of these options, and some of them include looking at like how viable would like an instant boost or a one-time boost, or like a veteran, I guess, flag for your account, which lets you upgrade them faster. These are all things that we're just kind of hypothesizing. Nothing's really set in stone. We're just very much just in an early discussion stage of this.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
We are on the same wavelength, though.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know that it's out there somewhere. So, cool. Okay. Well, I think that we're getting down to just now. There was just some quick bullet point questions I wanted to ask you, and it was actually in relation to the quality of life changes thread on the forum. And you mentioned that earlier. And so, just a couple of quick ones. How about a rotate layout button, so that a player can change their whole layout on their village? You know, like there's right now there's a move layout button where you can move the whole layout left, right, up, down. How about one that allows you to rotate it 90 degrees?
Oh, I see. I thought you meant, when you said rotate, I thought you meant it like rotates through a series of different pre-made vases. Like, why?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would function given that it's not a true 3D game. So I generally don't know how viable something like that would be. I literally don't know the answer, but I would love that. It would maybe allow me to see some of my traps a lot easier as I'm making changes.
Yeah, plus it throws off players, man. When you make a southern teaser base suddenly a northern teaser base, nobody knows what to do. Okay, how about changing a clan name? If you guys made it expensive, like a lot of gems, and you could only do it, say, once every 6 months, is there any possibility that you guys will ever allow that?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I'm just being blunt about it. Like it's something that we've still ruled out for now.
Okay.
Part of it is that, you know, as we see a lot of activity, a lot of players returning, a lot of them are coming back to their old clans, and we want to be able to find those old clans. Like if we allowed clan name changes, they might be able to find those old clans, because you can't really search by a particular player just yet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, like, the easiest way to find who you used to play with is by clan name.
Right.
And we want players to be able to find those old clans. So for now, we don't allow any clan changes.
Makes sense.
That may change. But and here's the thing: it's not a difficult change to implement, from what I understand. If I understand what the programming guys told me, it's just the logistics of it. We're not ready to do that just yet. But it's not a completely ruled out feature. It's just one that we have ruled out for now.
I see. Okay. Fair enough. Let's see. We already sort of covered older obstacles. You guys are never going to let us buy the 2012 Christmas tree no matter what, are you?
For now, that is a hard no.
Okay.
If you weren't in the game when those came out, you should not be able to buy them. Like,
What if
it's a badge of honor.
What if you were in the game when they came out, yet Peter $17 thought it would be funny and he cleared yours? Peter?
Why was Peter 17 on your account?
Oh yeah, okay. Wait, I wasn't. No, I wasn't sharing. It was not a share.
Okay.
It was on the same device, and he came into the room, and yeah, no, it was definitely not a share of the. He came. It's a long story. Okay, never mind. Forget I asked it. Sorry, officer.
No, if it was something like, let's say you accidentally deleted your own tree, and you previously owned one. That's something that we have, like, it's still on the table, not on the table. It's one of those things like nobody's really warmed up to that one yet.
All right, fine.
If it's one of those, if you deleted it, it's your own fault kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So next question. And I know you mentioned this before. What about the older skins, the very first skins that came out? You mentioned before that they will possibly rotate back into the game somehow for players that missed those early skins. Do you see that happening, and how might it happen?
We still would like to have it happen. When? Don't know yet. We haven't really set any definitive time frame for when we want to reintroduce them. It will probably not be through the Gold Pass. It'll probably be more through either like a value pack or in the store. We haven't made any solid decisions just yet.
And in the store, hopefully not for $9.99.
I got one of the funniest comments about that. They said if you cut the price in half, you could have sold double the amount.
Oh gosh. Well, can I ask you?
But you see the logic in that, right?
Yeah, no, but I thought, can I ask you? What do you guys think of that? Can you talk to whether that was a success? Whether we're going to see it again?
So as far as the price, like, it was the first time we'd ever offered a skin in the shop outside of the Gold Pass. So we did have to establish an initial benchmark on what we offered, on whether we should increase or decrease the price.
Right.
If we set it too low, okay, let's say we set it for $2.99. Even if we sold millions of them, if we felt like there's a psychology of games that, if something has too little value, people don't want to get it again. If we felt like if people felt $2.99 was too cheap, they're less likely to buy it again if we offered it again. I know it sounds kind of strange, but therefore, if let's say we went from $2.99 to say $5.99,
right,
the outrage that we increase the price for just a skin would be huge. So with $9.99, if we felt that was too expensive, we can at least reduce it, and that'll be much more palatable. Now, in hindsight, should we have offered it with additional items like some Book of Heroes, Book of Everything, or some potions along with it? Maybe, but we wanted to establish a baseline with just offering just the skin by itself. And yes, it was a very cool skin, and a lot of the outrage was because it was such a cool skin.
Yeah.
And that was the decision that we wanted players to weigh between is if they wanted it or not. And we got a lot of valuable data from it, and it will mold some of our approaches down the road.
Okay, so I do like that idea of the fact that it might go down in price, but it's not going to go up in price. You guys kind of started high.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't like let's start high, we can only go lower. It was like what do we feel this thing is worth, and then just go from there.
Okay.
So we had to establish a control group basically.
Okay, so this is a perfect segue into my next question, Darian. Do you really think a shovel is worth 500 gems?
I think a shovel is worth. Let me go to Home Depot really quick.
Oh gosh. Just a personal thing. I've always felt that 500 gems was overpriced for the shovel, but I've seen no movement on that.
I'm not the one to set the prices. I have no input on those prices. I have no idea how those prices are determined. That's done by our live ops marketing guy, and he's pretty much the number guy. And the stuff that he does with numbers is absolutely astounding. So if he thinks it's worth that much, I tend to trust his judgment on what he sets a price to.
All right. Okay, fair enough. I will keep calling it by the same nickname I've been calling it for months. Next question.
Which is what?
Shove it.
Okay.
No offense.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm just not a fan of. I just think it's a little bit overpriced personally. But I mean, I love the utility of it. I think it's cool because I'm a guy who hates to clear obstacles. But I just have this thing about spending 500 gems. I mean, I'm glad they've shown up in clan games and things like that. And I will admit, when they show up in packages, and this kind of gets back to the psychology of the skin. When it shows up in a package with other stuff, I'm almost gonna always snatch it up. So. Maybe the same with the skins. I was kind of surprised, like going back to that the skin was by itself, and I did mention that in previous videos that it would have been cool if it were with a couple of other things. I think it would have softened the blow for some players. But then again, of course, I bought it, so I can't really argue. I definitely bought that skin, and it's amazing. It's the best skin ever.
It is really pretty.
It's gorgeous. All right, so let's see. Okay, so just a couple other quick things. Players were hoping for a potion that might speed up the Clan Castle troop requests. It's like the one thing you can't speed up right now.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I realize the Clan perks help bring that down a lot, but some players would love to have it even faster. So
we'll have to pitch that one.
And then what about the idea of more single player maps coming in some regard? Is there any chance that we're going to have more stuff like that?
So I don't want to say no. I don't want to say yes. We would like to add more. Are you talking about the Goblin one or the practice ones?
Well, both of them. Yeah, or maybe even a third that's different than both of those. I don't know.
So the practice ones were actually much more difficult to create because they require a bit of custom scripting. We are working on some Town Hall 13 ones and maybe some additional Town Hall 12 ones. I'm not sure. I remember someone mentioning something about that in our team. But those require some additional custom scripting, and so they're a little bit more challenging. The Goblin ones are much easier to make. They are fun. We like creating them, and we would like to add more in the future. It does kind of create this weird, like it's not we don't want to turn this into a single player game.
Right. No, I understand that.
And the thing is, with goblin level maps, like there's not a lot of replay value in them. Like once you accomplish it, once you do it, like it pretty much sits there and done. So it spending the development time on making something that's a one-time use that you never go back to it again, it is a little. We have to prioritize that time for something that's going to be used a lot more frequently.
Makes sense. You mean like a giant, massive goblin city that each and every one of your clan members needs to attack each week to unlock special rewards? Just came up with that myself, by the way. So. I know it sounds a little bit like...
I don't want to say to that.
Well, it sounds a little bit like the operations over on Boom Beach, where you have like the entire clan has to attack one place. But I was just thinking that'd be kind of cool. It'd be a way that you would also be encouraging the clan to work together, yet the clan would have to attack a massive goblin base that was, way bigger than and way harder, and where your entire army would only take out a small percentage of it, and it would take the clan working in as a team, coming in at a specific angle. It would almost be like the way you see it now, like when somebody drops their Archer Queen to funnel, or maybe they drop their Barb King on the other side to funnel. That would be like one player's entire attack. Their purpose of that would be to create one side of this funnel. And then the next player's entire attack creates the other side of the funnel. And then the next player, he tries to get the entry into the outermost wall. And then, players 6, 7, and 8, they're trying to get down the massive goblin scatter shot that's off to the side. And I don't know, it's just something like that. It was always sounded kind of cool to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, now we're really getting deep down the rabbit hole, though, so I'll stop there. But
interesting. That's all I can say.
Yeah, but that'd be cool. So I think that covers about everything. Is there anything I missed, Darian, that you wanted to say, talk about, reveal, disclose? Dr. Darian?
That little reveal caveat there. So yeah, I mean, we learned a lot from what we did last year, and especially when it comes to content around the World Finals. So I know that was a little bit of controversy about not releasing a major content update just before the World Finals, and there were a few misperceptions on how that was perceived. So I think players will see that we'll still develop content. We're still going to be on track for hopefully releasing an update every quarter, regardless of when the World Finals are, and we'll just kind of develop around it, so to speak. But we do want the World Finals to be front and center stage later this year. Apart from that, we've got a lot of content coming this year, and we had a lot of stuff scheduled for Town Hall 13, but we didn't want to release it all at once because we wanted to kind of pace the content out, meaning we wanted to keep players going. We don't want to give them all at once and just have them all burn out and just wondering where more content is when we don't really have Town Hall 14 or 15 or 16 or anything planned this year. But
right.
We want to stay on track of we want to release a new Town Hall update every minimally 18 months. And so as we release Town Hall 13 in December, that would mean not until 2021 for Town Hall 14.
Okay.
So that means we have to have something to fill this year with content. We've got some pretty juicy stuff that we're coming with.
Sweet. So more than just more level 14 walls, you guys have stuff, I'm assuming, for lots of different level players.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one, I think. And I think a lot of it's going to be very unexpected.
I love that.
That's all I can say.
Well, I've said that many times before, that it is the Clash team does always manage to come up with something that none of us had really seen coming. So I'm looking forward to that this year for sure.
Me too.
Awesome. Well, Darian, I kept you for a long time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for so long. I know it's late over there in Finland, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
You got it, Galadon. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, my friend.
So there you go. That is the conclusion of almost an hour-long Q&A with Darian. I hope that I covered what you guys wanted the answers to, but if for some reason I didn't, please let me know down in the comments, and we will try to have a follow-up session with Darian, or at least get those questions cleared up. It sounds like we've got some exciting times coming in 2020. I am super, oh man, I'm excited. And now at this point, I need to go back and listen to the whole interview again, simply to catch the little bits and pieces that Darian left. I do believe that he kind of left us a trail of breadcrumbs that can kind of help piece together what we could see in 2020. Either way, it is going to be a fantastic year for Clash. I cannot wait. More daily episodes, of course, coming out. And yes, don't worry, no Cash Clash is coming back tomorrow. Every time I put out a video that's not no Cash Clash, people freak out. So don't worry, tomorrow is another episode, and yes, I am still having a blast over there, having a lot of fun without any gems. Cannot wait to get to Town Hall 9 and experience the true hero and wall grind that everybody keeps on talking about. So, thank you guys, as always, for sticking around all the way to the end of the episode. I realized that we did switch over from some pro tribe gaming attacks to noob Legend League Galadon attacks, but hey, at least they were 3 stars, and remember, even a blind squirrel occasionally gets a nut. So that is it. Thank you guys, as always, for sticking around all the way to the end of the episode. You are the true #GalFam. Now get out there, make the best of the rest of your day, be kind to people, animals, and the planet. I'll see you back here again tomorrow for more full attacks.
Galadon, a 30-minute episode? I can't take it!